Now, big up my Arsenal fans. I hope you're all doing well and safe. I'm sure you all would have woken up to the news or browsed your phones and seen the latest news. Arsenal are set for a departure. Kieran Tierney is set to go to Sociedad on an initial loan. Various outlets are reporting that will be completed in the next 24 to 48 to 72 hours. I, as the president of Kieran Tierney FC, are quite gutted, but difficult decisions need to be made. But is this the right choice? Let's see, people, and let me know your thoughts. Once again, it's reported he's going out on loan to Spain. They are in the Champions League. Currently, they sit 13th in La Liga, and I think they've got Real Madrid coming up. So for Tierney, he's going to have to hit the ground running. And we can understand his frustrations. You know, he's barely got to play any real first-team football this season. He's been on the bench and I think made sub-appearances about 20-odd times. I think he's started anything from 6 to 11 times and things like that. And considering when you think of Kieran Tierney and injuries, he's been an ever-present member of the team. Speaking of injuries, we've obviously lost Timber, so it makes me think, is this the right decision to let him go? Because the question does remain, what are the options in place of Tierney, essentially? Because we can't afford any more injuries. And to me, as a mere football fan that doesn't understand football to the level of Mikel Arteta and how he's building his squad, you have to forgive me for simply asking, why are we doing this, really and truly? Obviously, we have other internal solutions within the squad. You've got the Japanese international Tomiyasu. You've got the Ukrainian international Zinchenko, who is exclusively first choice. We would have Timber if he was fit. And we've obviously got Kirill. And I would say wild options. You do have the luxury of potentially Gabriel being deployed in a new role. Maybe that gives Arteta further fuel. You do have the young Lino Sosa and obviously the young Waters, who can play right and left back as well as centre half, even though I don't expect Arsenal to call upon those young men at this moment in time. At this moment in time, Arteta has played quite coy on Tierney's future. He will probably be asked about him in a press conference. Where you look at Tomiyasu and Zinchenko, they're injured as well, so you're a bit concerned. I'm gutted to see Tierney go, but difficult decisions need to be made. And it seems like the light bulb has been switched on in terms of Arsenal and outgoings, or the movements in terms of outgoings, people. And in other news, you've got Balogun, who looks set to depart the football club as well. Various news outlets are reporting he is set to leave for around 39 to 40-odd million pounds and sign a deal at Monaco until 2028. Balogun's another one I wouldn't want to see leave, but I can understand that he's someone that could bring in significant money at this football club and someone that allows us to recoup some sales after obviously the spending we've been doing. Monaco's a great club and it's a great opportunity for him to display his talents, really. When you consider, though, he's played 37 times, bagging 21 goals, but 37 times in Liga and only made 10 appearances for Arsenal, to get 30, 40, bordering on 50 million is great stuff. Only Arteta himself knows exactly what he's cooking with the squad, but I do trust him. And again, these outgoings make it further for us to claim 100 million. Now, with all that we've discussed throughout this video, people, first things first, I hope you've all make sure you smash the like button and you've commented opinions of your own. My final thoughts on the Tierney thing is, I look at it on two ways personally, people. You know, again, I do think I personally look at this very emotionally, because football, as much as it's about being analytical, about being ruthless, there is an emotional attachment to Kieran Tierney. I think he's a Spartan. He's someone you'd want to go to war with and go to war for. I think he's a very good professional. I think obviously in terms of left back, there are some times we might need him to just do a job. I do so yeah, I do understand it really and truly why some fans would be upset. I do think his age profile, as again with the injuries we're currently suffering in our team, the fact that Tierney was as fit as he's ever been in his Arsenal career last season, it kind of does upset me that he's departing, especially being in the Champions League and him being part of the project, and the fact that Mikel Arteta a few years ago, again things changed, but said that he's a potential captain for the club. But then when I look at it without emotion, you know, again, only time will tell if this is the right or wrong thing. Arteta, again, people can make mistakes, but if we're saying these things, Arteta, Edu, and those around him all must have been saying the same sort of thing. If we let Tierney go, are we strong enough defensively? Unfortunately, had Timber have been fit, I'd be a lot more comfortable. But at this moment in time, Timber's not fit. Zinchenko is central to the system, but he does pick up knocks. Currently, Tomiyasu's suspended, and he has had a rotten time with injuries, really and truly. But I think the system, unfortunately, has left Kieran Tierney in a sense that clearly, in terms of the inverted role, Kirill, Zinchenko, Tomiyasu, and Tierney and Timber in Arteta's eyes, all do more than Tierney in that regards. Tierney is an old school, organic sort of left-sided fullback, and again, it's not to say he hasn't got strengths, because he can help us close out games. There's games we need to be a bit more direct, but we're not necessarily a crossing team. And Tierney, as I said, is an organic fullback. If you had a target man, we were necessarily a team that's strong in the air, and to be fair, we've signed Kai Havertz, and Arteta talks about his height. I could understand why Tierney would be utilized, but I think the system has just gone past him. But that being said, he's a very good squad player. I've purposely not included Tavares, because Tavares shouldn't be a thing at Arsenal. So I think you've got to look at it without romance, and I think the decision has been made. I think Tierney and Arteta have had an honest conversation in which I don't know, but I think Tierney's got his head down, worked hard, kept working. But last season has to have been frustrating for him, really. You have to put your own individual feelings aside for the team, but he wants to play, really. And I'm sure, he's playing for Arsenal. He's living in London. Mikel Arteta is a great gaffer, and he was once a key player. I think he tried his hardest to get a look in, but I think Arteta sat him down and said, you know what, I like you. You're welcome to stay, but this is what I'm doing. This is the minutes you might play. You can prove me wrong. You can get into my lineup. If injuries happen, of course, there's game time. But Tierney wants to play. He's already spent a year kind of on the peripheral things, and he wants to play. I would also say as well, why has there been no, at this moment in time, no permanent offers for Tierney? Because as good as I think he is, do the world of football think he's overrated? In fact, could it be a thing where there's other priorities? Don't they think he's as good as? There's some internal concerns at all of these clubs, because you were linked with Aston Villa, nothing came of that. You was linked with Newcastle, nothing came of that. You look to be going Sociedad on loan. Could it even be a thing where Arsenal's asking price for Tierney is deemed too expensive, or teams are not necessarily convinced to take him on anything more than a loan? Obviously, we've saved a bit of money because we're going to get a loan fee, and Sociedad are going to take on some of his wages. And we hope Tierney can convince them to take him permanently, or he can put himself on the map for other clubs, or in an unlikely example, be reintegrated into Arsenal's first team next season, really. Surely Arsenal have to be signing another player, man, another defensive body. I'm starting to think maybe, the kind of makeup of a Timothy Cassandra, Kyle Walker-Peters, them kind of guys that can play left and right back, not really going to be main players in that regards, not really going to harm the game time of people, because I do think we're a bit weak, as much as I think on the face of it, we're strong at left back, and we've never been as strong as we potentially could have been in recent years with the options. All it takes is one more injury to either Tomiyasu and Zinchenko, and we're in troubles. At this moment in time, Kyrill's probably banging on the door, which I think Kirill is developing well. Whether he's going to be a left-sided centre-back, whether he's going to play on the right side, which he showed at some point last season, which I don't think is going to be the thing, or an inverted left-back, I do think he could be a bit of a wild card, and I have been impressed with him in pre-season. But looking at it, the jury's still out on Kirill, because he hasn't got a strong body of work. Zinchenko and Tomiyasu, you're never quite sure they're going to be fit for the majority of the campaign. And also, I do think Tierney's got a bit more balance than Zinchenko and Tomiyasu in that. Clearly, in relation to Zinchenko, Tierney, unfortunately for this, is an organic sort of left back. He's an old school left back. He can't do what Zinchenko does, which Zinchenko is a number 10 and number 8, finds himself in this inverted role, but he's a better defender than him. Tomiyasu and Tierney, I think, is quite even in terms of who you would say would be the best defender, but Tierney has a bit more about himself going forward. Where you look at Kirill showed for Poland and actually for Arsenal in pre-season that he can play left back. We all know at his previous club in Italy, he spent a period in central defensive midfield, and he's probably most at home as a left-sided centre-half. So he's very much a multifunctional, organic sort of player that Mikel Arteta demands. But I just think Tierney had the balance. I just think that the system has left Tierney. You're not going to get game time beyond being a player that helps us close out games or somewhat of a wild card. While I think Tierney gave it a good run for its money, he gave the left back row a run for his money in this Arteta system. It's a bit like asking a fish to climb a tree. He can't do that. He's not like Kirill that's been in midfield. He's not like, obviously, Zinchenko. In relation to Tomiyasu, I don't actually know what that would be, but I think with Tomiyasu, it's a sense of he's relatively both-footed. He can get forward, not as good as Tierney, but he can get forward. And with Tomiyasu, he gives you a lot more defensively, I feel, in an Arteta system, because he's the most conservative. And also, you probably rely on the right-hand side and the more attacking players to kind of get the job done. It's unfortunate that, a man that's made 91 Premier League appearances for us, just shy of 100 odd appearances in the Prem, 100 124 appearances for this football club. Pretty sure he was there when we won the FA Cup, so at least he's had a memory. But I can't blame him, really. Again, I do wonder what the plan is, because Arteta's not making this as a snap decision, really. Maybe in hindsight, that's why Kieran Tierney has not been involved in the last 2 games, because he's made it clear he wants to go. As we know, he's been training away from the system. Again, Arteta and Edu, they might get things right, they might get things wrong, but they're probably saying the same things that we're saying and more. So I wonder, do they think they have internal solutions to cope? Do they believe that, there's other internal solutions to cope? Is there a plan in terms of recruitment? Or is this a thing where we're just simply looking at it as whatever happens in it? We'll try and get through to January potentially. Tierney's a player that has potential to make us some money. As you've seen, he's bringing in a loan fee. Balogun's bringing anything from 30 to 50 odd million quid. We've obviously got rid of Granit Xhaka, Pablo Mari, Austin Trusty, Marquinhos has gone on loan, Runnelson's gone on loan, Matt Turner's departed the club. If you look at the Tavares, the Lokongas, the Holdings and Cedrics, I know the last 2 names I said there we completely forgot. It allows us to recoup some money after spending significantly on Timber, on Havertz, on Declan Rice. And obviously, it looked like we're going to spend 20 odd million quid on Raya. That's been a loan with an option to confirm that for about 28 million quid. So we'd have to see, really and truly. But I do wonder, for all the interest in Tierney, why he hasn't got that move. But I wish him the best, man. He's taken it, he jumped ship and left his boyhood club to come to the Premier League. London has been good for him. He doesn't want to rest on his laurels, because I think he could have stayed. On the face of it, we're in the Champions League. We're expected to challenge for something this season. You're valued by Arteta. Many players in this circumstance would have no reason to leave. And to be honest, right now, it is a step down for Tierney. But is it a step down to make a come up? You're going to go to sunny Spain. You're going to be in the Champions League. You're going to play first team football. I actually don't even know if Scotland have qualified for Euro 2024, but if they have, that is something for him and many players to consider. So it is what it is. I do think the system's left Tierney. Admittedly, I don't think Tierney's as good as I think he is and other people. That doesn't mean I don't think he's a bad boy footballer. I just think there's a bit like Balogun. I think internally they're a bit overrated, really. But we're going to have to get on with it, man. I still think Tierney is one of the best left backs in the league when starting. He shows his quality, but the system's left him. And as you can see where the game is kind of going, everybody's copying Pep Guardiola and Arteta of doing this inverted stuff. You're seeing United do it. You're seeing Spurs do it. You're seeing several people doing it, and copying is not a problem. As Pep Guardiola says, he's nothing but an idea thief. Nothing is new under the sun. It's just remodeled and stuff. So yeah, that's all my thoughts on this. But yeah, hopefully the more players we can ship out, I have small hope that we maybe could bring in a centre mid, bring in a right winger, potentially a striker. But I would say the priorities right now for me is bringing another defensive body and maybe a centre mid. I personally still think we're 1 centre mid short. I would like someone that can compete for Saka's place. I know there's Fabio Vieira and Nelson, and if you sign the striker, there's Jesus. And I think striker is probably something we might have to look at in January, probably next summer. But I think they're the next areas of the squad that could, should, and if I was an Arsenal manager, which I'm not, would be addressed. So yeah, people, let me know your thoughts. Is this the right or wrong decision where Tierney and Balogun are concerned? Have we potentially made a mistake? Are we jumping the gun too early? Should we have probably retained Tierney until January? Do you think Tierney's forced the boat out, really, and we're reacting to such? I don't know. Nonetheless, smash the like button, subscribe if you haven't. Let me know your thoughts, people. The last couple tactical videos I've done, they've gone down well. You lot have commented, you lot have hit the like button, you've done all of that. So can we keep doing that, boosting the YouTube algorithm? I hope everyone's doing well and safe on this Friday morning. Let me know your thoughts. Check out the rest of the videos. Stay in good health. One love for watching this. I'm out. One love. There's always just that active defending. I think it's like